The legislation of Jim Crow affected all classes and ages, and it tended to be thorough, far-reaching, even imaginative. From separate public school textbooks for black and white children and Jim Crow Bibles on which to swear in black witnesses in court, to separate telephone booths, separate windows in the banks for black and white depositors, and Jim Crow elevators in office buildings, one for whites and one for blacks and freight. New Orleans went so far as to adopt an ordinance segregating black and white prostitutes. Atlanta confined them to separate blocks, while a Nashville brothel settled for a plan by which black prostitutes were placed in the basement and white prostitutes on the ground and upper floors. In Atlanta, the art school that had used black models needed no law to dispense with their employment. Even as laws decreed that black babies would enter the world in separate facilities, so blacks would occupy separate places at the end of their lives. The ways in which Jim Crow made its mark on the ritual of death could assume bizarre dimensions. Will Mathis, a convicted white felon, appealed to a judge that he be hanged at a different hour than Orlando Lester, a black man, and from a different set of gallows. The same plea was made by a white Tennessean convicted of the brutal murder of his wife. After he objected to going to the gallows with 3 black men, the authorities agreed to hang them first. Custom, if not ordinances, dictated that blacks and whites be buried in separate cemeteries. If a colored person was to be buried among the whites, one observer noted sarcastically in Alabama, the latter would all rise from their graves in indignation. How they tolerate the niggers in heaven is a mystery, unless the mansions there are provided with kitchens and stables. On the edge of Little Rock, Arkansas, in still another unique expression of white supremacy, a section of the cemetery once reserved for blacks was converted into an exclusively white cemetery. There are a lot of colored folks buried there and white folks on top of them, a black resident observed. They didn't move the colored because there wasn't nobody to pay for moving. They just buried the whites on top of them.